It all started on a quiet summer morning in a small lakeside town where everyone knew everyone. The kind of place where the water glistened like diamonds under the sun, and life seemed peaceful, at least on the surface. But behind the calm beauty of this picturesque lake, a storm was brewing. And it all centered around a woman named Maya Thompson, a woman who had lived by that lake her entire life. Maya was no stranger to challenges. A strong, independent black woman in her late 30s, she had inherited her family's property from her grandmother, a woman who fought tooth and nail to keep the land in the family through generations. This lake wasn't just water and mud to Maya, it was her childhood memories, her family's history, and her home. But to the local homeowners association, or HOA, the lake was something entirely different. To them, it was profit. They saw it as a playground for the wealthy, a chance to build luxury vacation cabins and an upscale resort for rich outsiders willing to pay top dollar for lakeside views. Over the years, the HOA had slowly gained influence, buying up surrounding properties and turning what was once a quiet natural refuge into a money-making machine. The only problem: Maya's land sat right in the middle of their plans. And unlike other families who had sold out, Maya wasn't going anywhere. At the heart of Maya's property was a small, sturdy wooden bridge built by her grandfather decades ago. It connected her land to the main road and was the only direct path for her and her neighbors to reach the lake's eastern shore. The bridge wasn't just practical, it was a symbol of her family's legacy. But to the HOA, it was an obstacle. They claimed the bridge was unsafe, unapproved, and violating county codes. But everyone knew the real reason: they wanted full control of the lake. For months, the HOA bombarded Maya with letters, fines, and threats. They demanded she tear down the bridge. Maya fought back with every ounce of her being, attending town meetings, filing appeals, and even hiring a lawyer. But the HOA was relentless. They had deep pockets and powerful friends. Maya was just one woman. Then, one fateful morning, Maya woke up to a sound she would never forget: the roar of heavy machinery. She rushed outside to find a demolition crew tearing apart the bridge her grandfather built. Wood splintered, cables snapped, and within an hour, the bridge was nothing but debris floating in the water. The HOA members stood nearby, arms crossed and smirks on their faces, pretending it was all for safety. Maya felt her chest tighten with rage and heartbreak. They had crossed a line. For days, she barely spoke. But while the HOA thought they had broken her spirit, they didn't realize they had awakened something far more dangerous: a plan. You see, what the HOA didn't know was that Maya's grandfather hadn't just built a bridge. He had also designed the very dam that controlled the flow of water into the lake. A dam that sat entirely on Maya's property. A dam that, with one pull of a lever, could drain the lake the HOA had invested millions into. Maya spent a week studying the dam's mechanisms, carefully considering every consequence. She wasn't a reckless woman. She knew draining the lake would devastate the HOA's $1.8 million resort and the expensive vacation cabins that ringed the shore. But she also knew they had left her no choice. They had destroyed her family's legacy. It was time they learned a lesson about respect. Late one moonlit night, Maya put on her boots and walked down to the dam. The air was thick with the scent of pine and wet earth. The moon cast silver ripples across the water. Her heart pounded as she placed her hand on the old steel wheel her grandfather had once turned. She whispered a quiet prayer, took a deep breath, and began to turn. At first, nothing happened. Then came a low rumble as the ancient gears groaned to life. Slowly, the water began to move, first a trickle, then a steady roar as the lake began to drain. By morning, the once pristine lake was unrecognizable. The waterline had dropped several feet, exposing muddy banks and leaving expensive boats stranded in the muck. The HOA board members were in a frenzy. Resort guests awoke to find their picturesque lakefront views replaced by a swampy wasteland. The million-dollar cabins that relied on the lake's beauty were suddenly worthless. Word spread quickly. News crews arrived. Neighbors whispered in awe. Some called Maya a hero. Others called her reckless. But everyone knew one thing: the HOA had underestimated her. When the HOA tried to confront Maya, she met them with a calm, steely gaze. She reminded them that the dam was her property, built by her family long before their resort existed. She hadn't broken a single law. The water was hers to control. Desperate, the HOA scrambled to sue her, claiming she had damaged their investments. But in court, the truth came out. Decades ago, Maya's grandfather had secured airtight water rights. The HOA's expensive lawyers couldn't touch her. The judge ruled that Maya was fully within her rights to open the dam whenever she pleased. Their $1.8 million resort. A complete loss. In the weeks that followed, the HOA tried to rebuild their image, but it was too late. Investors pulled out. Tourists stopped coming. One by one, the fancy cabins sat empty, their value sinking as fast as the water had drained. And Maya, she quietly rebuilt her bridge, stronger than ever. She never gloated. She never rubbed it in. She simply went about her life, tending to her land and honoring the memory of her grandfather. But every time she crossed her new bridge, she couldn't help but smile at the calm, steady flow of the river below. It was a reminder that no amount of money or power could erase her family's legacy. Maya's story became legend in the town. Parents told their children about the woman who drained $1 million lake to protect what was hers. To some, it was a cautionary tale about respecting boundaries. To others, it was an inspiring story of standing up to greed and arrogance. And though the HOA eventually disbanded, the lesson remained clear: never underestimate the quiet strength of someone fighting for their home. Because sometimes, the person you think is powerless is the one holding the lever that can change everything.